So welcome back to my channel. This is Dom, and happy Christmas belatedly to everybody out there, and happy New Year, soon to be happy New Year 2020 to everybody. Just wanted to do a quick video. Well, it's never quick with me, is it? I always waffle on. Just kind of giving people a little view of what 2019 was like for me in terms of wargaming, and what I'm looking forward to next year, 2020, and also just an insight into some of the, or a quick look at some of the things I got wargame related this Christmas. Not that there was a huge amount this year. I've been really naughty all year long, as you know if you've seen the multitude of figures I've been showing off. I've been very naughty this year, and so Santa didn't bring me too much wargaming related stuff, which is probably a good thing, really. So first of all, really wanted to say thank you for all the support. I'm going to say lots of reallys here. Thank you so much for all the support I've had over the year. My channel started almost a year ago, probably November, December 2018, and I'm already at, well, as of today, I'm just looking at my piece of paper here, 447 subs I had as of today when I was doing this video. And it's amazing, frankly, that when I started it, I thought, you know, people down the club were taking the mickey out of me and said, you know, you'll get nobody watching. And I said, well, if I get 50 people, I'll be really happy. And to be honest, that was never the reason. It was always just to do it and have a laugh, and I enjoyed doing the videos. But since doing them, I found it's been tremendous fun, much more fun than I expected. And I love the community. The wargaming community is fantastic, so supportive, so involving, and fantastic. If you want advice, if you want help, if you just want encouragement, so many people out there, and so many really talented painters, modelers, gamers, doing some fantastic creative stuff, and it's just an inspiration, and I love it. So if I bring a little bit of encouragement to you guys, even if it's just to show you not how to do it, then I'm pleased to do that for you. So thank you so much for everyone who's subscribed in the last year. You know, might even hit 500 fairly soon, and that would be really exciting. So so first of all, I thought I'd just take a quick look at some of my highlights of 2019 in terms of things I got excited about and so forth. And first of all, I thought I'd start with the best new game for me. For best new game for me, and it was a bit of a toss-up, but in terms of the games that I played for the first time in 2019, I think it has to go to Black Seas. I think that has been a real revelation, can't say it, in terms of game fun, the sort of game I love, a game that is entertaining, fun, has a historic flavour, but doesn't take itself too seriously. Black Seas, the naval warlords rule set, really enjoyed it, and I would urge anybody who likes the sort of the old Hornblower kind of series on TV or film, or Master and Commander film, go and try out the rules. They are really fun, and it can get a bit silly price wise, but the basic rule set is not bad, and if you go to one of the secondary suppliers of Warlord stuff, you can get it pretty cheaply. 40 quid will give you enough basically to play everything you're going to need to play for quite a while, and then you can slowly add more ships to it. So that definitely is one of my highlights for 2019. Lowlights has to be SPQR. For everything that they did right with Black Seas in terms of the rules being play tested and written well and thought through, SPQR was a disaster. That was the ancient rule set. I was so disappointed. You know, I was really looking forward to those rule sets. I love ancient wargaming. It's one of my favourite periods, and I was really excited about a rule set that would be fun to play, had a historic flavour, and I'd want to play a lot of. And I really wanted to like SPQR. We played all sorts of house rules to try and make them vaguely playable. In the end, it was just hopeless, and we binned them. Well, you don't bin any rule set, do you? But they've gone into the shelf where no rule set ever escapes from. So exciting personal innovations for me around wargaming has to be, just spilt it all over the floor here, but this is Luke's APS basing materials. I had no idea. Seriously, people, why didn't anyone tell me this before? How easy this stuff is to use, how much time it saves. Go on to the Luke's APS site, does all sorts of gaming and modelling material. He has a fantastic channel where he talks about all sorts of things related to modelling and projects he's running, terrain models and that sort of thing. And he's a fantastically entertaining guy. But he runs this Wargame Supply stuff and does this stuff. Luke's APS basing. This is, I forget which one this one is. I think it's Forest Floor or something. And it makes it so easy to base up. I used to use polyfiller to build up the bases and then stick down, so had to paint them because of course polyfiller's white, and then I had to paint, use glue to then stick flock on them and blah blah blah. It took forever. This, seriously, I think it holds some sort of grouting material within it, and so all you need to do is basically put glue, strong glue, on the base. Don't need to build the base up at all, and just pour this stuff all over it. And once it's, I spray varnish my figures. Once I've spray varnished over the top, it goes rock hard, and it doesn't shift. And I can put extra tufts on to make it look special, a few rocks in there to make it look a bit different. And they do all different versions. This one, I think this one was, oops, he said spilling it again. I think this was urban something or other. But there's about 4 different versions of it. Thoroughly recommend if you haven't got that, and I don't know how I ever coped without it. The other thing is Army Painter washes. Oh my god, personal revelation. I shouldn't say that word because I can't say it. Amazing, just brilliant. Make even the most average painter look pretty good. So use your washes is my recommender. I used to use the dip, the tin of foul-smelling stuff that you dropped your figure in. Well, try not to drop, because if he went in, you'd never find him again. And then you had to pull him out and shake off lots of excess and leave him to dry for about 3 days, and it dry with this sort of very browny, and all the stuff would run into recesses where you didn't really want it to. So you'd have to try and brush that out before it dried, and it was just a pain in the arse. Looked reasonable, but the washes now are so darn good. So those 2 tips from me, you know. Many of you have probably been using all these things for years and years and years, but for me, because I only really came back to the hobby probably about 18 months ago, 2 years ago, I had no idea. So those 2 things have just, you know, turned my life around in terms of wargaming. Most fun games I've had this year in terms of wargaming, toss up between Sharp Practice AWI games. We have so much fun with our Sharp Practice games. I just love playing Sharp Practice games. They are so much fun. I've got one which I'm editing at the moment, which was from the last Friday at the club before the Christmas break, which is just, there was 4 of us playing, and it was just a laugh a minute. A really good fun game, but with a historic flavour, and that's exactly what I like. The other thing is bolt action. I know it's not always the most popular rule set out there, but it's a lot of bad press, but I do like my bolt action World War II. I always find it has an exciting game. I think of all the games I've played, probably only one I can think of which wasn't a decent game. Always seems to give a good game. So Sharp Practice and bolt action are the 2 that really excite me. Most exciting figures for me this year, I fell in love with Atlantis miniatures. I went to Salute this year and saw the fantastic models they had, and it was the time when I was doing my Saga Age of Magic armies, and I picked up some of their figures there, and I've fallen in love with them. I don't know what I'm going to do with half the figures I've got, but they're just so darn nice. So Atlantis miniatures definitely. And also 2 of the most recent Kickstarters I signed up for, I showed on the channel, I think, when I did. The American War of Independence figures from Brigade Games in the US. Fantastic, really lovely figures, and I'm so looking forward to painting them. And of course I have to mention Andy Hobday's Baron Wars miniatures. As I said before, I'm just getting so hooked up onto the medieval war period. Just loving that early medieval period. It's so fascinating, and those figures are beautiful, so I'm really looking forward to painting those up. So those 3 manufacturers particularly, but the standard of models out there today is just unbelievably good. We don't know how lucky we are, frankly, in terms of quality of figures. So looking forward to 2020. What's really going to make me excited? 3 main things, I think. Well, 4 if you count the fact I just want to carry on having some decent games. But in terms of new things, Clash of War rules. Mentioned how disappointing SPQR was for me. I love ancient rules, and I'm really excited by Clash of Spears. They did a Kickstarter just before Christmas. I've got the PDF, I'm reading it now. They seem really interesting rules. The actual physical rules should be coming fairly soon, and I'm hoping to get some of the club playing it. Really excited by that. It's sort of same sort of scale, same sort of size battles as SPQR, so it's sort of war bands kind of level of, so not quite skirmish, but not full battle size. Really good about that, and also excited by the fact that the Two Fat Lardies are going to be producing or publishing an ancient rule set based similarly on Sharp Practice. And as I said, I love Sharp Practice, so I forget what they're called, but I'm really looking forward to those as well. So those 2 rule sets could be really entertaining, and something I'm definitely looking forward to getting hold of in 2020. And thirdly, rule set that I love playing, again, really fascinated to hear what happens with these, Muskets and Tomahawks version 2. Seen a lot of stuff coming out of the Tomahawk studio who do these rules. Looks like they're going to be covering the whole of the Black Powder period. The current version of Muskets and Tomahawks is sort of skirmish level, Indian Wars moving on to American War of Independence area, but it sounds like, looking at what you can see through their Facebook page and others, and some of the discussion, is that the new Muskets and Tomahawks rules will cover a much wider Black Powder period. Now that could be very interesting and might give Sharp Practice a bit of a run for its money. So really looking forward to those 3 rule sets coming in, and the games that come with it. Other than that, really looking forward to going to Salute this year. Also plug for my own club's show Valhalla, which happens in Aldershot in it's just the weekend after Father's Day. Used to be on Father's Day, but they moved it because it just didn't seem to work, so look out for that. I shall advertise that through the channel as soon as I can, but really looking forward to that as well. So that's my highlights. So have a look at some of the booty I got for Christmas. So a quick look at some of the goodies I got for Christmas this year. Really exciting. Look at that. HMS Victory for my Black Seas fleet, British fleet. Watch out, Jonathan, I'm coming for you. Jonathan's been forced into taking the French option, whereas I've gone British. So I did say I wasn't getting any more ships, and I didn't get any more ships. Somebody else bought this for me. My mum and dad did, so as part of my presents. So I'm really pleased. That's really exciting. Look at that lovely historic ship, 1/700th Warlords model, with all the stuff in there, the rigging, the oh god, I've got to do the rigging. Oh shit. Yeah, but really looking forward to playing or getting this one sorted out, getting him ready and ready for the table. So that's really cool. Really excited by that. My lovely daughter Imogen bought me some Black Powder AWI field artillery. Again from Warlords. This is enough to make up 2 cannons, either 3-pounders or 6-pounders, which can either be British or American depending on what you want. And it also has inside 2 mounted commanders and 2 casualty figures. So again, looking forward to getting these put together. And in fact, I did pick up another box of these just recently in God, where was it? I think it was Warlords were doing a sale, in their Black Friday sale, I think. So I picked up some more, so I'll now have enough for 4 guns, which is more than enough for sure for Sharp Practice, which I often played AWI, but increasingly we're starting to use a Black Powder to play AWI, so that'll be fantastic. So Graham, especially for you, mate, load of cannon. In joke, Graham at the club, Farnborough War Games Society, has a thing about it, trying to limit everybody using artillery, particularly in Sharp Practice games. So And this thing, which again my daughter Imogen bought for me, which is a painting handle, scissor painting handle. Now I've never really used anything like this before. I'm the sort of person that takes every shortcut you can make. So I tend to basically put everything on its bases and paint them that way. But from time to time it is difficult, and individual figures particularly is very difficult to do it on the base. So I thought this would be useful. So I'm really pleased to give this a go. So there you go. That's interesting. Other things, I did buy a couple of kits, a couple of offers that I saw online. Some Foundry, ECW, English Civil War Dragoons, and also some Foundry. What else did I buy from Foundry? I can't remember. Something else from Foundry. They were doing a 20% off Christmas sale, and I used some of the money I got given for Christmas, but I haven't got any of that yet. But other things I picked up. This book looks really interesting. So this is the Illustrated History of the Crusades by W.B. Bartlett. Really interesting read. Only skimmed through it so far, but really impressed with it. Takes you right from the very early start of the Christian world in Palestine, or yeah, I guess Palestine, through the golden era of Jerusalem, through to basically the disaster. It takes you until the losing of the Christian states to Saladin and the other Muslim counterattack, basically. But it's an interesting read. I'm going to look forward to reading this up, as I said, because I collected some figures from the Baron Wars selection. I thought, well, actually I could do some early war medievals, and actually I got really into reading about medieval period. One of my subscribers recommended an audiobook about King John, and I've been listening to that, and it's absolutely fantastic. Really enjoying it. So thank you whoever suggested that, but it was fabulous, and it's given me a lot of insight into that early medieval period, which is then leading me on to the Crusades. So I expect there'll be a lot more of that in the coming year. The other book I picked up was this thing. I used a voucher that I had for Amazon to buy this, and it only arrived today actually, but this is Vikings, A History of the Northmen by W.B. Bartlett. Again, W.B. Bartlett. I really like his stuff. He does brilliant, really readable histories. Now this book I heard thoroughly recommend, right, for anybody who is a real history buff, and I'm sure a lot of war gamers are. Go and listen to Dan Snow's History Hits TV podcast. He does a fantastic series. It's both online and just straight podcast, which you can download for free, or you can subscribe to the channel and get ad-free version of it. It's not very expensive for the whole year to subscribe. But he does a whole series of interviews with historians who've got books out, goes round behind the scenes of various places, palaces, castles, digs, all sorts of things. Fantastic, really good videos. I know Dan Snow can be, some people don't necessarily like his interpretation of history, but I always like listening to his stuff, and I find it a fantastic listen. W.B. Bartlett, I forget even what his real name is, was on the podcast talking about this book, which is why I bought it. And it was absolutely fascinating. So he basically has studied the very early days of the Vikings, right the way through to sort of when they sort of disappear, in terms of being proper Vikings, if you like. So it takes you from the dawn of the Viking Age through the Great Suffering, which is the big sort of impetus for a lot of Vikings to go a-Vikinging in 789, right the way through to, well, he says the end of the era is when Harald Hardrada is defeated in 1066. He says that's the sort of end of the classic Viking era, and this book is really interesting. Well, at least, you know, as I say, it arrived today, so I haven't read any of it yet, but his interview on the podcast with Dan Snow was absolutely fascinating listen, and I think anybody who's heavily into the Vikings and the Viking period generally will find this a fascinating book. I picked this up on Amazon. It cost £16. It says £25, but it actually cost me £16 on Amazon as a hardback, and I think that is going to be a really interesting read. So that was my book. So that was all my presents, wargame related and history related this year. Fairly lean haul, but then I'd spent an awful lot of money this year on other figures and I didn't really need an awful lot more. So there you go, that was my Christmas haul of gifts and prezzies. As I say, I've got a few more coming in the post, but in terms of things I've used vouchers and money for, but that's the immediate stuff. Really pleased. Didn't get too much this year because I'd spent far too much money this year and have so many figures to paint up. I didn't really want too much more, but you can never have too many figures, can you? Anyway, I hope you had a fabulous Christmas. I really appreciate, as I said, everybody who follows the channel. I hope you have a brilliant time with the family and friends. If you manage to get time off, that you could relax and have a few glasses of fun juice, and got out to do some entertaining things. And I hope your 2020 is really exciting and good. I hope everybody has a great time, has a really good new year, and I'll see you again soon. This is Dom, signing out.